Hi, this is Elliot Fishman, and today is October 1st. Hope everybody is doing well. It's still a pretty nice fall, nice weather. I know everybody is super busy. Everybody is overwhelmed by the volumes and the lack of faculty, but let's not worry about that today. Today I'm going to speak to you. Lily suggested that today's the anniversary of the first CT scan, day one, 55 years or so ago by Hounsfield. You forget in this era of super fast scanning, super thin sections, thousands of slices. When I started way back when, an average slice, and we had the best scanner in the world, which was a AS&E 0500, Pfizer AS&E 0500. The slice thickness was 10 millimeters. The acquisition time was 10 seconds and the reconstruction time was a minute a slice, which meant roughly you did about 35 slices on a patient and it took about 45 to 50 minutes. Those were the good days. We would in body CT, we'd have to scan it from 7:30 to 1, and then from 1 to 10, neuro would have the scanner. There were no emergencies, there were no weekends, there were no nights. Who knew that life was good? I remember once we got a second scanner, oh my God, we'll do 20. Got a faster scanner, we'll do 30 in a day. Oh my God, that's the most I could imagine. Not that we were doing thousands a day. Now, I don't know about you, but history always you forget, we take for granted what people have done, but on my wall is this chart. And it's framed, I don't know if you can see it up close, but this was in Diagnostic Radiology, a brief history of CT. This was published December 2002, so that's 23 years ago. So I'm going to read you some of the stuff. 1971, researcher Jeffrey Hounsfield of UK-based EMI invents CT scanner. Remember, EMI was the Beatles, and people used to say that, oh, the Beatles paid for the research. 1972, CT scanners are introduced at the RSNA meeting. 1978, CT sales in the US begin a dramatic rise from 200 systems annually to 800 in 1983. 1979, the Nobel Prize in Medicine is awarded to Hounsfield. 1980, researchers advanced CT's clinical standing by demonstrating its accuracy in lung cancer diagnosis. CT installed base reaches 5,000 units. 1981, this is not a good thing, but Hinckley, who was the guy who shot Reagan, his CT scan showed brain atrophy, and we used to help diagnose schizophrenia. Okay, early to mid-80s, CT acquisition speeds decreased from 5 minutes to 20 seconds, thanks to fan beams and array detectors. 1985, always wisdom, industry experts predict U.S. market for CT is near saturation. Oh, researchers at Johns Hopkins developed volume rendering techniques. That was a nice shout out to us, except it was Pixar who developed the volume rendering, and Derek Nye, myself, work closely with Pixar, but we'll take all the credit. 86, despite being overshadowed by MR, CT holds its own. Mid-1990s, 1989, spiral CT is introduced. No one believed that was all the speed, that was all the possibilities. That was very exciting. The mid-1990s, radiologists honed 3D applications. Spiral, that's us. Spiral scanning technology evolves, migrating from high-end to mid-range. End of spiral era is in sight. 1992, LSynth, which no longer exists, debuts the Twin, the first multi-slice scanner. The concept languishes till 1988. In 1988, GE, Toshiba, Marconi, and Siemens, who remembers Marconi, all unveiled versions of quad slice CT scanners with sub-second rotation. 2000 multi-detector CT units, offer 8-fold increase in speed. A study that might have taken 45 minutes a decade ago can be completed under 10 seconds. 2002, 8 and 16 slice scanners begin shipping. Who can remember, we went from classic, we went to 4 slice, we went to 16, never had an 8, never had a 32, went from 16 to 64 to 128 to 256 to where we are now with photon scanning. So it's amazing. And then, 2001, CT angiography emerges as the biggest beneficiary of fast scanning. And that's 2002. Diagnostic imaging is still alive and well. They just need to update the next 23 years. I think we all know what the update is. Faster and faster scanners, better resolution. CT, we used to joke way back when that it was a physical exam. Now it truly is the physical exam, and that's not a bad thing. It helps get patients to the OR faster. It helps patients get discharged faster. It's expanded its applications with lower dose. Think about cardiac CT, just something as simple as calcium scoring. Think about whole body screening. Think about lung cancer screening. Think about staging and detection of tumors. I talk about AI, but for AI to work well, you need CT. You need thin section CT. We talk about dual phase imaging. We talk about dose reduction. We talk about reading the scans, which is another challenge when you're short-staffed. The question, how much impact will AI have? I think it's going to take a bit longer, but I think it's going to be measured in years, not decades. I think things like breast imaging, it's easier, single organ, single disease. It's more difficult to look at an abdomen, but in the chest, AI, pulmonary emboli, it's more accurate than readers. Lung nodule detection, brain tumor detection, some work in the liver, some work beyond the pancreas, in the kidneys. So lots is going on. I think particularly large language models are going to have a major impact on how we look at data. But we're not going to talk about the AI. This talk is not about AI. This is about how in 55 years, CT went from concept to critical part of medicine. It's an amazing Hounsfield and his colleagues, the discoveries that were done, and it's amazing how the advances have really changed everything we do. Now, I see a couple questions. What's the biggest advancement you've seen? I think it's the speed and slice thickness. When we did 3D with Pixar, it was 4 millimeter thick sections every 3 millimeters, and we would do bone because you'd scan the pelvis, right? Patient did not move much. But you would never think of scanning the liver or the kidneys. It wasn't fast enough. And with fast scanning, all of that, including just looking at the aorta, looking at the branch vessels, but then organ by organ, the ability to analyze, stage, pre-op plan, all that became the real thing. When you started the Felix project, do you think AI will evolve so fast? I never like to guess, but this is not name dropping, but a good friend of mine is Jensen Huang. And going back when I met with him in 2016, when he came even to Hopkins, he said AI was coming full speed ahead. So, people doubted him. And yes, he did speak about driverless cars. And I did it with him in 2016, and he said, "Hey, Elliot, but next time you come back, we'll be on driverless cars in the Palo Alto area." We're not there yet, but we are getting there. You look at what Waco and other companies are doing, so driverless cars and driverless trucks are here. They're not replacing everything, but they'll get there in time. So you don't want to, some people say, oh, the world's going to change in a day, everything is going to change. Some people are going to say everything takes 50 years. It's somewhere in between. And to me, the speed of change has never been greater. When you look at AI, the changes are in days and weeks and months. They're not measured anymore in years and decades. Everything is happening very quickly. The only thing not happening quickly is getting more radiologists and more technologists, which we desperately need. But I think, at some point the amount of radiologists you need will be less because AI will be reading, AI will be helping the technologists. So I think the world will continue to change. And someday, maybe me or someone else will sit here and say, 55 years ago, could you imagine people were questioning whether or not AI was going to do anything? So I think it's great. So anyway, well, I hope you have a great day, and see you guys soon.